Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
What was the most fucked up thing you saw in school? Saw a girl stomp on another girl's jaw with her high-heeled boot for looking at her boyfriend at the next lunch table over. I heard she had to get her jaw wired. A kid clipped the tip of his tongue off with a pair of safety scissors after someone dared him to. One of my brother's friends cut the very tip of his nose off cause someone dared him to edit. His nose is just a little bit flat at the end as far as I know. I haven't seen him in years, but it was a stupid dare and a funny story to tell now. A kid hung himself on a playground our senior year. I hear his brother found him. This all happened a week after two of the brother's friends, also seniors, died when they wrapped their classic Mustang around a tree near the HS. Made for a rough senior year to say the least. These two kids got into fight at my school. Somewhere during the tussle one kid lost his balance and on the way down threw the meanest uppercut ever. He connected on the other kid's bare teeth and pushed them into his gums. He fucked up his own hand really bad. Blood just everywhere and no teachers in sight for like another 3 minutes. It was a rival football game and the stands were packed. A section of the old wood bleachers collapsed and 20 or so students went to the hospital with numerous broken bones, concussions, and lacerations of various degrees. During the same game, I saw a guy get hit so hard in the leg that it shattered and both bones were showing. Poor kid ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of the school year. I know it has nothing to do with your comment, but it reminded me about a classmate who had his leg broken and had to use a wheelchair. An earthquake happened and he was left all alone in the classroom while everyone else evacuated. Someone had taken a massive shit. It was larger than a coffee cup in width and considerably longer. So large it was impossible to flush. People were lined up into the halls to see this monstrosity, including faculty. You know it's a small town when a turd calls that much attention. A kid jumped over the balcony to try and beat the rush on mashed potato day. He broke both his legs. Did not get his potatoes. Took me too long to realize mashed potato day is probably just the day your cafeteria serves mashed potatoes. And not some kind of big yearly mashed potato event at your school. When I was 8 we were making cookies in class and they gave us square cheese graters to make chocolate chips with. Because they didn't trust us with knives, a fair judgment. Some kid was holding a few graters and pretended to be a robot. This girl shouted at him because he wasn't a robot and proceeded to take one of the graters and grate his hand. Lots of blood happened and then a pair of twins both fainted. Middle school. I was chilling in the band room and I look out to the hall to see a kid with some sort of liquid coming out of his eye. Later I found out some kid stabbed his eye with a pencil. I was in 9th grade. One of our classmates got drunk. Stripped and streaked the lunchroom, gymnasium, basically any place crowded. The staff was afraid to tackle a naked teenager so we all got an eyeful. Saw a kid throw a pickleball paddle at a gym teacher. Knocked her unconscious. Blood everywhere. He was suspended for some time. Was an asshole. A kid in my school year stabbed one of my friends in the back. Not verbally, I mean with an actual kitchen knife. We were 11. Some girl broke up with a guy, so he smeared his shit on her locker and pissed all over it. My middle school teacher did a thing where we could bring our pets to school. A kid in my class got attacked by a macaw after he tried to grab it off a desk so he could play with it and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. I was suspended and grounded for bringing a macaw to school. A couple fucking in the dumpster behind the cafeteria. For the rest of the year, people would walk up behind the dude crinkling paper and asking if it was getting him hard. Just to add a bit, 4 or 5 of my friends and I stumbled upon this event while we were coming back on campus and one of them went to throw his trash away. It got around the school pretty damn fast. It's probably a good thing that I'm old enough that the smartphone wasn't a thing when I was in high school, because there's a good shot that one of the group would have been dumb and taken a picture that included a 17-year-old having sex. In first grade, a boy pulled his pants and underwear to below his knees and laid down on his back. Then a girl spat on him. I don't remember why, but I will never forget that sight. There was a girl I was friends with who had developed early and had pretty big boobs and considered thick for a 5th grader. Hanged with a group of 5 or 6 girls. Most of the girls in this group were short, skinny, and the pretty ones of the class, so she stuck out from that group. During recess, these 5 girls ganged up on her and pulled down, sometimes ripping her shirt, exposing her chest, and laugh cause they thought it was funny. She'd fight it and tell them to stop, but they'd do it even more, sometimes pinning her arms to the side so they could. She ended up hanging out with me more and finding different friends in middle school. The boys in my class bred mold in one of the lockers. They managed to get milk so moldy. Some yellow fluid was all around it. I did that, but to a much milder degree, a few years ago in 6th grade. Put a carton of grape juice and left it there for a couple months, and when I checked on it there was some black mold or whatever. A girl was coming back from a doctor's appointment and wasn't there to hear that we couldn't get out equipment for recess. She opened the door, grabbed something and went to leave. The wind kicked up and slammed the door on her hand and she lost a finger. They rushed her to the hospital and they sewed it back on and eventually it was back to normal, but that was the most fucked up thing I had seen. Nothing that I personally saw at my high school was disturbingly fucked up. Just weird. Some kid smuggled in a bunch of onions and clogged all the downstairs toilets with them. Who the hell does that? A girl with bulimia tried to shout down a spiral staircase. But because her gag reflex was so weak, she vomited from a great height instead. Oh, the splash. In my school there was a kid, or multiple kids, we don't know, who would shit in a urinal every once in a while. They were known as the urinal shitter. Someone made a meme with the Grim Reaper going to the doors template with all the bathrooms they had done it in. And the Reaper going into the last bathroom, the office bathroom. The meme spread very quickly and I guess some teachers saw it. Since there is blood in the meme, coming from under all the closed doors, they decided it was a credible threat of violence. They closed the school for 2 days for safety concerns. Just a super weird story all around. I worked at an American school in China a while back. One day, one of the school buses was on the way to campus from the city and there was an accident that students saw. A truck ran over a man riding his bicycle. The students on the bus witnessed the accident and watched as the man lay dying on the road. They were stuck in traffic and couldn't get away from the horrific scene for over 20 minutes. Kids were crying and traumatized. Most of them were elementary school students. There was a lot of grief counseling in the months after that. Some kid kept shitting in the sink every week and they had to keep cleaning it up. One day I walked in the bathroom and someone had put shit on the wall. Had some girls in my high school who were creating works of art in the same fashion. They were deemed the fecal phantoms. And were never caught. I and a bunch of other kids came upon the corpse of a kid who had committed suicide on the school premises the day before, which was a Sunday. He had shot himself in the head in the nice landscaped area that was designated as the official socializing area for the grade 12 students. He was in grade 12. It was established later that he had had some gripes with other kids in his grade and his teachers and was overall depressed and nihilist. That is why he chose for his body to be discovered by school students, personnel, to make his death have a lasting impact on those he considered his enemies. It was very early in the morning and still fairly dark. When I arrived there was only 6 other people already there. 2 of them girls who were crying. Eventually there were some early bird teachers on the scene and they phoned the police and began chasing away other kids. Blocking off the area, I got to see him though. It was not a very grisly scene as it was a neat shot through the temple, but there was a very large amount of dried blood that had run like a river down the pavement to a grassy patch where it stopped. Just some extra information. In my country, schools are not one big building like the American schools on TV. Our schools are more open air due to very mild winters. So instead of one big building we have a bunch of smaller classroom blocks spread out across gardens and sporting grounds. So the body was easily missed by the groundskeepers who arrive early and unlock the gates. We were in 4th grade and class just let out for a 5 minutes break. I was with a group of girls and we walked into the bathroom. On the far wall was a giant ring of shit painted in the shape of a heart. There was even visible undisguised food in the faces that, for some reason, is burned into my memory. There was a kind of a witch hunt. The principal called out students in the hallway, one by one, to question the kids. No one confessed as far as I remember. But there was a lot of suspicion surrounding a boy who liked to talk about butts and flatulence. I'm not even sure that he did it. But make too many asshole jokes in class and something like this happens. You are suspect number 1. There was one kid in my high school that everyone bullied relentlessly. He was pretty overweight and nerdy but a good kind-hearted person in general. One really popular girl, possibly hottest and meanest in the whole school, decided to humiliate him, so she seduced him and told him to wait for her in the bathroom stall. When she met him over there she lifted her shirt and told him to drop his pants. When he exposed himself she pulled out her phone and snapped a picture, then sent it to everyone she could, telling everyone he was creeping on her, and flashed her. He got suspended and was gonna be prosecuted. Few days later he hit her with his car, leaving her paralyzed, and then killed himself. Saw 3 little dudes try to jump this massive mountain of a guy in the cafeteria. He fended them off pretty good till the teachers, who were football coaches, managed to break it up. Didn't actually see it, but the most fucked up thing that happened in my school was the time a sophomore videoed a special needs kid jerking it off in the bathroom stall from above in the stall next to him. There was a bathroom at my school near the special ed hall that nobody liked to use. The story was that occasionally during 7th period this special ed kid would go into one of the stalls and start loudly jacking off. One day I was in the bathroom taking a shit, 7th period, because I'm a dumbass and didn't believe it, and this kid walks in and gets into the stall next to mine. He then proceeds to start jacking off and making loud unintelligible noises. Being an avid reader of green text at that time in my life, there was no way in hell I was leaving my stall till he was gone. I waited like 15 minutes of him making post-nut noises before he left without washing his fucking hands. I was mortified, and I decided to walk a lot longer to the next closest bathroom instead of using that one again. Watched 2 girls get into a fight. One girl had a bunch of ear piercings and was wearing so many hoops it looked like chainmail. The other girl got her on the ground, grabbed those hoops and pulled hard. I will never forget the scream. The rings didn't give, but her ear sure as hell did. Blood everywhere. The girl standing over her like a goddamn psychopath, holding a very recognizable ear in the air above her head. It was fucking Mortal Kombat in real life. I had a Scottish teacher and an Irish teacher in 5th grade. And they were great mates. I got along well with both of them as well, so as I was leaving for the weekend I went and told them to have a good weekend. They told me the same. Anyway, when I got to school on the Monday, neither was there, which was odd. Then the next day the same story. This went on for about a week. And I was starting to get worried. Then about a week after, we had an assembly, where we found out that the Scottish teacher was a fugitive. What happened was on the Saturday after I wished them a good weekend, they went out for a party and got drunk. They then went over to Irish teacher's place, where they got into an argument. Scottish teacher got pissed and punched Irish teacher, who had heart problems, in the chest. He promptly died. Scottish teacher left, got his fiancée and fled the country, presumably back to Scotland. For watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.